The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
I started. I don't know why she didn't say it.
Good evening, everyone. I want to call this meeting of the Royal Palm Beach Village Council to order. Today is Thursday, April 16th. The year is 2026, and it is currently 6:30 p.m. in the council chambers. I would ask you all to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you all for joining us this evening. And I just wanted to start off with taking a moment to recognize something that happened this past week that was pretty significant. Fortunately, it's something positive, and so I don't want to miss an opportunity to celebrate something very positive, and that is the Artemis II mission around the moon, which was truly amazing. I don't know if everyone actually got a chance to watch any of it. If nothing else, make sure you tune into some of the press conferences, because some of the things that the astronauts have to say about that amazing experience, which, by the way, includes another demonstration of American innovation and what we can do when we work together as a team. Things that go all the way back, for example, to Neil Armstrong, first man on the moon. He said, great things are accomplished by teams of people. And more recently, Christina Koch, who Koch, I guess her name is, reflected that robots may collect data, but it's humans that find meaning in it. It's always interesting to me how great events generate great quotes, and they're usually worthwhile going back to periodically. So I just wanted to take a moment and recognize that and congratulate NASA and all those who were involved in that,
off of that screen.
And that huge accomplishment. So with that, Madam Clerk.
That's weird. I put it on my TV just so I could work on the computer while it was going on, but I got nothing.
Hang on,
I guess I'll leave here and go over there, because I can't hear it either.
Give us a second. We're working through an interesting technical situation. Okay, we weren't having a spiritual moment there. It was okay. That's good. Good to know. Good to know.
It wasn't.
There you go. All right. So, Madam Clerk, please let the record show that all members of the council are present.
Yes, Mayor, I will. Thank you.
And that will allow us to move to reports next. Let's start with Councilwoman Rodusky.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Tomorrow City USA convened a two-day conference this week at the West Palm Beach Convention Center with local national leaders to shape the future of cities. There were several short and long conversations that took place about cutting-edge technologies, thought leadership, around governance, transportation, finance, infrastructure, digital transformation, public safety, security, AI, healthcare, clean energy. I had the privilege of attending yesterday and I found it very interesting, intriguing, lots of things coming down the pike if we choose to take advantage of them. And these are projects that are going on in the rest of the world, not just the United States, and in our country, and in our community. And I understand that they will be holding this event in Palm Beach County for the next couple of years, so mark your calendar. The Palm Beach County League of Cities upcoming meeting next week on Wednesday will feature our state attorney, Alexia Cox, talking about inside the state's attorney's office and how the office benefits municipalities. So I will be there. I want to pre-congratulate our Councilwoman Selena Samios for being honored with the Dorothy Height Award through the YWCA, which takes place May 7th. Congratulations. And then lastly, to our Royal Palm Beach Brewing Company, who also, big shout out, they won 3 medals at the Florida Beer Championship. They won a gold medal for their Oktoberfest Marzen, a gold medal for their Spice Willis Holiday Cheer Beer IPA, and a bronze medal for their Dark Mexican Honey Lager. So personal note, I know that winning these competitions is not easy, so congratulations to them, and so proud that they're in our community and a vibrant business that we love to support. So that's my report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Madam Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, Council, everyone in their respective places, I'm really excited to talk about the Rock the Vote event that we had at Royal Palm Beach Community High School last week in coalition with the Royal Palm Beach Rotary and Interact Club. It was very, very well done. I was there, Mayor was there. Ray came, he actually spoke to the students. Sherrod, who is a member of the Rotary Club. Diane was there from PBSO. It was just a well-done event. We had, approximately 200 students. And what made it so special for me was that the kids, after it was two parts. They came, they went, they came, they went. It was two different groups. And so they had the option to go back to their classes or go to lunch or wherever else they felt like they could go or wanted to go, but they didn't. They came and they talked to us at the tables that were set up about what we do, our positions, what it means to be an elected official, what it means to vote. And Ray did a great job of getting them to understand and see the interaction between actually voting for a representative when they get to that place and voting for their representatives at the school level. He connected those two, and that really meant a lot to the kids. They actually said that about you. I saw a couple of them this past weekend, and they came over and they remembered that we were there, and they said that they really enjoyed it. It was so well done that Sherrod has been asked to do it again in September, and other schools have reached out to him. And while it may not seem to be that important to everybody, these kids are our future. Again, I say, I don't want to be 93 sitting on this dais. I would like to see somebody that has grown up here, maybe went to school here, come back, live here, raise their children here, and take my place. And they can't do that unless they understand what it means to be on this dais as well as be active in our community. I did hear some disturbing news. I am concerned about our school district and the raise and et cetera, et cetera. And then when I got here, when I pulled up this afternoon for this meeting, Broward County School District just made the announcement that they are laying off 356 people. There will be 850 positions. Most of those are not active, but the 356 are, and there are people in those positions that will be laid off after the school year. So we, think that just when we think we have issues or problems, you hear something of that nature, and I'm hoping that our school district can come to a conclusion about the raises, et cetera, and some understanding and get it taken care of for our teachers and our kids.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Last month on the 28th, we had yet another successful bike rodeo here in Royal Palm Beach. It's good to see, people out and enjoying it and actually, being outdoors, getting exercise. I know it showed me how out of shape I am and how much more work I need to do before next year. But it was a great event, and a lot of people had a lot of fun, so I enjoyed that. Tomorrow night, we have at Commons Park, food truck, and another concert. 30 Hertz is the band. They play a variety, including classic rock, pop tunes, cover bands of that nature. And I'd like to remind everyone on May the 9th, this year it's at Commons Park. It's usually at Veterans Park, but we're going to have our Cultural Diversity Day, or CAPSI's putting it on. I believe it starts at 1 p.m. And then finally, on the 18th of May at 8 o'clock, we have graduation here at Royal Palm Beach High School. And that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. Councilwoman Samuels?
Good evening, everyone. We have quite a few events coming up that are great for our businesses. So there is a Lunch and Learn Big Business for Small Business, and that is in conjunction with the Women's, the Black, and Hispanic Chambers. And Solid Waste Authority is putting it on with the City of West Palm Beach and the Office of Equal Business Opportunity. And it is how to get registered as a business and a vendor within the county, and then to receive contracts through them. The other one is over at South University. They are doing on in this one, sorry, you can go to womenschamber.biz for more information or to register for that. For South University on Saturday, May 2nd, they're doing an expo, a career in education. So you can go to southu.co/West Palm Beach open house for more information on that. So a great opportunity. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, just as a reminder that all fire stations in the county are a safe place for teens in crisis, so they can go in there, no questions asked, and they can feel safe in there and get help. And that they are also a safe haven, so all newborns that are 30 days or younger may be brought there with no questions asked. So those are two things that are all fire stations in Palm Beach County are doing to help. The other thing is the Fire Chief Association of Palm Beach County. They're holding a unified 9/11 ceremony on September 11th at 6 p.m. over at the Wellington Amphitheater. It is the 25th anniversary of September 11th, and all are welcome to attend. And finally, just wanted to reiterate from our residents that they're disappointed that the council is not doing a resolution on opposing Project Tango. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this evening, I wanted to mention that our Youth Council Leadership Academy participants that are usually here, I don't see any this evening. If there's anybody out there who's one of them, please raise your hand. But we've had really, really good exposure for them to local government, and I think it's going to prove to be a really successful program going forward. One of the opportunities that we'll have is to recognize those that have met the requirements that we set at the beginning of the year on our next council meeting on May the 21st. At that time, we'll also be recognizing the recipients of the Village Scholarships Awards, all 11 of them. Thank you, Councilman Valentes, for adding to that 10. And we'll have an opportunity to recognize them, and this place will be packed because the families always show up for that event. It's a great opportunity to celebrate them and celebrate the village and celebrate our connection. Actually, in order to get to the 11 individuals, we have 15 individuals who have been selected for scholarship interviews, which will be conducted this coming Saturday by our Education Advisory Board, which is one of their primary functions. It's also a great opportunity to get some insight into our youth and to recover some sense of we'll be okay going forward. These young men and women are amazing, and every year having a chance to listen to the interviews and their responses and their vision and hope for the future is inspiring. It absolutely is. We already talked about Rock the Vote. That was pretty cool, and to be able to do that again, and in conjunction with several different organizations, not only the high school, but also the Interact Club, Rotary Club, and also we have the Supervisor of Elections office there ready to register, and I think it was a good combination. And then also at the high school, the Navy Junior ROTC program, which is doing fantastic work. At right now, the maximum amount of cadets that they can hold with just one instructor is 140 cadets in the company. These young men and women are fantastic. They're well disciplined. They're highly motivated. And every year about this time, they do what is called a change of command ceremony. They did it this year over in the high school auditorium. And again, families are always showing up, and that shows great support for these young men and women. There was also recognition for their accomplishments already that took place, which included 3 of our cadets actually earning Navy ROTC, that is college ROTC scholarships, for $200,000 each. That's some serious scholarship money, it is. And so they earned it. That program helped them. And I think there are remarkable things going on there, and a lot of that is attributable to the junior ROTC leadership over there, Chief Sandoval. So congratulations to the students, congratulations to the school, and congratulations to everyone involved, especially the parents. We had the opportunity to attend a joint Treasure Coast South Florida Regional Planning Council meeting on April the 10th. You all may not be that familiar with regional planning councils, but as you probably have a sense, it involves something at a higher level, a bigger picture kind of an approach, and indeed it does. The South Florida region and the Treasure Coast region actually include 9 counties, and they reach from Monroe County all the way down to the Keys, all the way up to Indian River County. And so as we look at the growth that we're experiencing here, having a big picture approach and using the lens of these regional planning councils is a great way to deal with very large-scale problems that include things like infrastructure, trying to keep up with the growth, transportation, God help us, with traffic, and emerging land use pressures such as data centers. And so there's so much work to be done to understand the exact impact of these data centers that even the county of Palm Beach has, working with the applicant, decided to postpone their decision on the site plan request that is in place right now until July the 15th to allow more information to be provided. One of the things we're working on in the county also is a countywide transportation master plan. That fits together with the regional planning activities, which basically connects land use with transportation choices and possible mixes. We've got a lot of good things going on. Regional planning councils help organize some of this. And so attending that meeting was a great opportunity to talk about the fact that, and we all know this, growth is not slowing down in the region, and it probably won't. And mobility choices and infrastructure alignment is so important. And that's why I can't say enough about the approach that the county's taking right now, which is this countywide transportation master plan. Try to put these pieces together and come up with an optimum mix that will be flexible enough to be able to be adapted to changes, because one thing about growth is it's continuous. It is not something that happens once. So we've got a lot of good things going on. We've got a lot of good organizations that allow us to oversee and be involved and be informed on these things. We have a Citizen Summit coming up on May the 4th. Did I steal yours, Mr. Manager? Were you going to talk about that? No, let's go. All right, okay. I don't want to take it all. May the 4th at our Cultural Center from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. All Royal Palm Beach residents are invited enthusiastically. We seek your input, seek the opportunity to tell you about some of the planning that we've done for the coming year and even the further long-range planning that we've done as part of our strategic planning activities. Last year, I think we had more attendees than we had before, at least without looking at the numbers. It certainly felt like it. So hopefully this year we'll break another record. Looking forward to everybody showing up on May the 4th so we can get some input on our strategic planning, but probably most importantly, to share the information, have these conversations, which we do at the summit. And I think that's probably it for me. I think we talked about another thing. I do have one other thing I want to mention. We are going to be celebrating a major investment that we made at the last council meeting when we decided to authorize $20.1 million to be spent on the expansion, the doubling the size of our recreation center here in Royal Palm Beach. And so we are going to have a groundbreaking ceremony on April the 29th at 10 a.m. And so I want to let everybody know, if you want to show up, it'd be a great way to celebrate something really important, really significant, that's going to make a huge difference in Royal Palm Beach. And last but certainly not least, breaking news, May the 16th is the Vice Mayor's birthday. She just handed me a note, so I felt obligated to say something about that, all right? So, all right, so you could hold your applause to May the 16th. Okay, with that said, let me turn to the village manager and see if he has a report.
Let me just reiterate, Citizen Summit on May 4th and the groundbreaking on April 2nd.
Okay, and to our attorney.
No report, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. So next on the agenda is petitions. Do we have any petitions to come
No,
before
Mayor, I
the
do
council this evening? We have none, so I will close that out, and then we will move on to public comment. This is an opportunity for any of you members of the public who would like to share your thoughts and ideas and concerns with us on both non-agenda items and also consent agenda items. Do we have any cards?
No, Mayor.
We have no cards. Do we have any hands raised?
No, Mayor.
Okay, I see a gentleman in the audience who would like to share something with us. Why don't you come on down? And if you would introduce yourself by stating your name and also your address.
Hello, everybody. My name is Francisco Peñalosa. I live right here on Sparrow Lane, 94 Sparrow Lane. I've been there for 13 years, and I love it. And my kids go to Cypress Trails and Crestwood, and they love it. And as much as I love this village, I think we could improve a lot with, like, let's say, infrastructure for pedestrians. Like, I was just driving in Wellington, and I noticed, like, in their aquatic center and all that, they have elevated crosswalks, just things to remind drivers that pedestrians do have right-of-way in a lot of situations. And as I've said, I've been here 13 years, and I know a lot of times when you hit that crosswalk button, even though it turns green, like, people in the cars, they assume that they have the right-of-way. They'll even beep at you, like the ones that are, let's say, making a left-hand turn, even if you have, like, a baby stroller or stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I figured, like, there's stuff just to make it safer and more, friendly for pedestrians would increase, I think, people's quality of life, for elderly, kids. Simple things like you hitting the button to cross and maybe give the pedestrians 2 or 3 seconds head start instead of everybody. It's like a race, basically. They want to beat you to it. And, I'm sure there's just some simple things we could do to make things safer for pedestrians.
Okay, well, thank you for that comment. I mean, one of the things, of course, we're trying to do is encourage folks to get out and walk more for a variety of reasons. And in order to encourage them to do that, clearly, we need to make sure that it's safe. And these crosswalks can be challenging. Thank you. Thank you for that. And we'll take a look at what Wellington's doing there.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Okay, not seeing any, then I will close the floor to public comment, and we will move to the consent agenda. Madam
Mayor.
Clerk, please read the consent agenda into the record.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Number 1, approval of the minutes of the council annual organization meeting and council regular meeting of March 19th, 2026. 2, approval and authorization for the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding for the authorization and use of a debris management site between the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County and the Village of Royal Palm Beach. 3, approval of a special event permit for the Village of Royal Palm Beach and CAFSI to hold a Cultural Diversity Day at Commons Park on Saturday, May 9, 2026, from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. 4, approval of a special event permit for I Think Financial Credit Union to hold a community shred event at 11317 Okeechobee Boulevard. The event will take place from 10 a.m. through 1 p.m. on May 15, 2026 by I Think Financial Credit Union. 5, approval of a special event permit for Mission Barbecue Company to hold an Armed Forces Day celebration honoring our military, active and retired, at a Mission Barbecue restaurant located at 11929 Southern Boulevard. The event will take place from 11 a.m. through 2 p.m. on May 16, 2026. 6, approval of 12 special event permits for Ruby Tuesday Operations, LLC, to host D's Road Rascals Car Shows at 1271 North State Road 7 on April 26, 2026, May 31st, 2026, June 28th, 2026, July 26th, 2026, August 30th, 2026, September 27th, 2026, October 25th, 2026, November 29th, 2026, December 27th, 2026, January 31st, 2027, February 28th, 2027, and March 28th, 2027, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. 7, adoption of resolution number 2610, resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting a new comprehensive update to the Human Resources Policy and Procedures Manual for the village, providing for revisions to the Policy and Procedures Manual by adopting certain amendments through which affect in part various chapters set forth therein, providing an effective date and for other purposes. 8, authorization for the village manager to amend the previously approved change order with Johnson Davis Incorporated for Force Main bypass and relocation services by increasing the not-to-exceed amount from $100,000 to $111,650. All associated costs will be reimbursed by Palm Beach County Water Utilities. 9, approval and authorization for the village manager to enter into a contract with the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust to purchase a builder's risk insurance policy for the planned renovations at the Recreation Center. The request is for approval to bind coverage for an 18-month policy term for a premium not to exceed $117,476. 10, approval for the purchase of new playground equipment, engineering drawings, and freight cost at Commons Park by Landscape Structures Incorporated using Sourcewell contract number 10165-LSI. The purchase amount shall not exceed $117,629.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council wish to pull any of the consent agenda items? If so, which ones? Not seeing any, then I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby offer a motion to approve the consent agenda, all items 1 through 10.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any opposed. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Then we will move on into the regular agenda, beginning with item number 1, which reads, public hearing to consider application number 26-151, EASE, and approval of resolution 26-05, confirming council action. The applicant is seeking approval to partially abandon 9 tree preservation easements for a property located northwest of the Okeechobee Boulevard and Royal Palm Beach Boulevard intersection. I will look to, we have the agent, Doug Murray from WGI representing, and I'll look to our staff, Mr. O'Brien, for a presentation.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. The applicant, D.R. Horton, Inc., on behalf of Lakeside 3 LLC and Lakeside Landing Property Owners Association, is requesting approval for partially abandoned or abandonment of tree preservation access easements for 9 lots within the Lakeside Landing Townhouse development. The portions of the easements being requested for abandonment will not have an impact on the preservation trees contained within these easements. Here are some, the next couple of slides will be illustrations of these portions of the easements that they will be abandoning. As you can see here, and clouded in red, the portions of the easement that will be abandoned. And there's a sliver here. And then you'll see another sliver here. Again, some very small portions. And again, there is no reduction in the materials within these preservation easements. Again, here. And it gives you an idea of what their request is. Village staff is recommending approval of this application. And with that being said, Mayor, I'll turn the floor back over to you. Thank you.
Okay, well, I will turn to the applicant and see if he has anything he would like to add, which might explain some of the language that might be a little foreign to some of us when we talk about preservation easements.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, Doug Murray with WGI on behalf of the applicant. I do have kind of a combined presentation, but I can certainly skip over to this particular request real quick here. Just to get you familiar with the site that we're talking about here, it's Lakeside Landing. Now, most of you are familiar with it. It's about 12 acres. It's under construction right now for 100 fee simple townhomes behind the Village Royale Shopping Center and adjacent to Madison Green. So let me skip forward to the easement request here. 1 second. All right, so this is just a graphic of all the easements we're proposing to abandon. It's within 9 total lots. And again, this is a similar graphic that Bradford just showed you, but I can give you some of the background. Basically, these easements were created because we were proposing, there was a lot of tree mitigation on this project. So typically you want to have tree mitigation be in common areas so that the HOA can maintain it and replace it if it should die, and you don't have to worry about property owners cutting the trees, doing improper trimming, that sort of thing. In this case, we had planted really as much as we could in the common spaces, so we wanted to be able to plant on the private lots. So in kind of coordination with the village, we were able to have several trees planted on many of these lots. So in order to prohibit what I just said, having those homeowners trim the trees and to be able to let the HOA have access to trim them or maintain them, really just make sure the homeowner didn't cut them down. So we created these easements. These easements were on the plat. So at some point we realized that there was an error on the drawings, not on the plat itself, but once we overlaid the plans, we realized that there was actually an overlap of the proposed buildings slightly over these easements. So the easements were basically created. There was, for each tree, it was a 10 by 10 easement. It doesn't necessarily need 10 feet by 10 feet around the tree to maintain it, but that was just what we chose. So these are all different shapes. Sometimes we have 3 trees in a row, so it's 30 feet by 10 feet. So this is just an example of, again, it's a very small portion of the easement, typically a foot to 2 feet, and some of it's not necessarily overlapping the footprint. It could be overlapping where the roof overhang is. So we just didn't want any encumbrances on overhangs or the buildings just for mortgage and loan purposes. So hopefully that kind of explains a little bit more about our request.
Okay. Well, with that said, let me open it up to public comment to see if anyone in the public wishes to comment. Do we have any cards? No. Do we have any hands raised?
No, Mayor.
Anyone in the audience care to comment on this agenda item? All right, not seeing any, I'll close the floor to public comment, and then I'll turn to the council for discussions on this item. Let's begin with Councilwoman Samios.
Thanks. Thank you very much for the presentation. Actually, I would request that we can combine regular agenda item number 1 and 2 because the questions kind of overlap. So, they're asking for the tree mitigation in 1, but then they're telling us that they're going to replace them in 2. So if we can have conversation regarding both those agenda items now, we can vote on them separately, but that's what I would ask.
Well, go ahead and ask your questions.
Okay. So you are, go ahead.
Perfectly fine with me, but they are, it sounds like they're related, but they are kind of separate.
I do understand, but you're talking about asking us to, from what I understand, you're asking us to let you not put the trees on these places, these plots that we originally agreed to, but then you are going to replace them as well. So no? Okay.
So if I can provide some clarity to that,
Right.
And the differences between this agenda item and then the next agenda item.
Okay.
So what they're doing with this agenda item is purely removing portions of the preservation easement. There is no, because of that request, there is no elimination of trees or removal of trees or moving it around of trees. It is just simply the removal of a portion of these preservation easements. Now, in the next application, that is where the request is to, because of the construction, there was 29 trees that died because of the construction. Slash pines are very sensitive. Their root systems are very sensitive. And that's, in that application, their request is, we've removed these trees, and this is where we're planting the 65 preservation trees along this, within the site. And I have an illustration for that in my presentation.
Okay, so if you want to keep them separate then, because it's, when I look at number 1, it's very difficult for me to agree to that, but when I look at number 2, I understand, okay, it's not quite a give and take, but you can see where you are working to try and replace them. So if that's the case, if we can go back to the image, Bradford, where the overview of the whole, yep, or I think there was another one where you can kind of see exactly, or the marks are on it, but it was the overall
lots,
view.
The lot ones?
Was it in my presentation or their presentation? But I can show you, if you want me to skip ahead real quick.
And just do an aerial of where.
So this is an illustration of where the preservation trees, this is the next application.
Right.
So these in blue, those are where the preservation trees will be, are being located. And now, if I can go back, you can see these are where the preservation trees died. I don't know why I said died like that, but
200 years down the drain, that's what you can say.
These are where those trees were removed due to them dying during construction. And then again, this is where in blue where they'll be replaced. You can see here, these are the preservation trees that are located within those easements.
Okay.
And those trees are not going to be removed, rearranged. They are in the same places they were from the original approval.
Okay, so where are the 9, and you can use this map, so where are the 9 that they're asking for the easement or the abandonments for?
I will have to go back to.
And if I heard you correctly, you're not abandoning any preservations in total. You're only abandoning pieces of preservation or easements where you had slight encroachments either with overhang or the buildings. But
Correct.
You're not reducing the number of preservation easements. You're just cutting down the size to make it more exact.
For the overhang, building
We're
overlaps.
proposing the exact same number of trees. Those trees haven't been planted yet. They're part of the replacement mitigation. So we're proposing to plant the same number of mitigation trees. It's just there was an error, again, on the plat versus where the building footprints were, and we found an overlap, and that's creating an issue. So it's the exact same. The trees did not change.
Yeah, no, we've had that here in Village Hall as well, so I understand. And I've driven through the property, so I do see the construction that you have going on there and the trees and that you do have. It was just more to see from that aerial, those 9 spots, or if you can just.
Right, so with these buildings not being labeled building 1, 2, and 3, but examples would be, as you see here, this block of townhomes. So on the north side, you see 2 preservation easements. So as you can see, the materials are not changing. There would be a removal of portions of that easement where the building, maybe the overhang or the footprint had encroached into that easement.
So the trees are being trimmed or removed?
Planted.
The easement is so the trees haven't been planted yet. So they're there because they're mitigation trees, so they will be planted. The easement is in place, and the idea was that the trees are planted in the middle of that easement, so if it's a single 10 by 10 easement, so that the HOA can if needed, can maintain the trees, trim the trees if needed. That's it.
And that's what I wanted clarification on.
And it's try to prevent the homeowners
so,
from cutting it down.
Thank you very
as if
much.
it was their tree.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Valdez?
No questions, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Vice Mayor?
No questions, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Brodowski?
No questions.
So if I understand correctly, this is a mechanism to make sure that once those trees are planted, they can't be cut down by the property owners.
Correct. And it's also an assurance or a direct pipeline to those that are responsible if the tree does die or if the tree is taken down by whoever, that the HOA will be directly notified, and that is their responsibility, clear as day, of who is responsible for those trees.
All right. And therein lies the preservation mechanism.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other comments or questions from the council?
No, Mr. Mayor, I don't.
All right, not seeing any, then I will look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the second agenda item then, which is a public hearing to consider application number 25-126 SPM AAR, an application by D.R. Horton, Inc., and adoption of resolution number 25-35 confirming council action. The applicant is seeking a site plan modification and architectural approval in order to add a 30-inch tall landscape block wall behind the walkway around the north, south, and west sides of the lake, to remove 29 specimen trees previously designated to be preserved, to plant 65 replacement trees to mitigate the above removal, and other various modifications for a property located northwest of Okeechobee Boulevard, Royal Palm Beach Boulevard intersection. And I will now turn to Mr. O'Brien for staff presentation on this.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, before he begins, this one
I'm
is
sorry.
quasi-judicial, so I need to swear everybody in on this one.
I got on a roll.
Could you raise your right hand, Mr. Murray, and Mr. O'Brien as well? Just in case, thank you. Do you all swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, and I'll turn back to the council for any ex parte disclosures, including site visits that need to be disclosed.
I talked to the applicant.
None. No bad.
Just village staff.
Village staff.
Great, thank you. The applicant is seeking a site plan modification approval in order to add a 30-inch tall landscape block wall behind the walkway and around the north, south, and west sides of the lake. Remove 29 dead trees previously designated to be preserved, and will plant 65 replacement trees within the common areas on the site to mitigate for the dead trees. Modify the pavement connection at the south ingress, spacing between the driveways, and partially abandon several tree preservation easements for a property located in northwest corner of Okeechobee Boulevard and Royal Palm Beach Boulevard intersection, as well as seeking architectural approval for the updated landscape plan. This slide illustrates the overall landscape Lakeside Landing site plan, which includes 10 townhouses that were previously approved by Village Council. This slide here illustrates some of the affected areas that are highlighted or clouded in red, and we'll go through these. And again here, and so I want to draw your attention to this slide, particularly on the south side of Lakeside Landing, where there is a ingress-egress connection from Lakeside Landing to the gas station, providing access to Okeechobee Boulevard. Part of this, also this request, is this new sidewalk here, which will provide pedestrian cross-access to the shopping centers. And here is this slide illustrates the 30-inch wall. This is what will look like, Diamond Pro wall detail, and it will be along the lake, west side, south, and north sides. This slide illustrates the I wouldn't call it rearrangement, but the addition of extra area between the sidewalks, I'm sorry, the driveways. And here's an illustration of where the preservation trees will be removed due to their dying during construction. You have one here, one up here, and a lot of them that are around the pool and clubhouse areas, and some here towards the middle of the site. And again, most of those trees, all but two, are slash pines. Again, this is a slide illustrating some of the preservation trees that were previously approved with the original site plan. And here will be where the preservation trees will be planted as a result of the removal of the trees that died during construction. That would be 29 specimen trees and that were removed, and 65 will be planted to mitigate the specimen trees, and they'll be planted in accordance with village code, which is 2.5 inches at DBH, which is diameter at breast height, and 14 feet tall. Again, here this illustrates those that were being removed. And you can see where they deviated was the pine cypress and the laurel oak. The staff is recommending approval of this application. Village Council, Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of this application. And with that being said, Mayor, I'll turn the floor back over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Let me turn to the applicant and see if he would care to make some comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, Doug Murray with WGI on behalf of the applicant. Thank you. All right, so the first request we're making is the 30-inch block wall around the central lake. We have a proposed sidewalk it's actually installed that goes completely around the lake, connects through the rec area. So here there in blue, you can see the location of where the block wall is. The block wall is going to be directly behind the sidewalk. So you can see an illustration to the left going to look like. There's also a fence for safety purposes because directly behind the wall is the yard for those residents. I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. So this is kind of a before and after, so except the before is basically the approved design on top. So if you can focus close to the back of the townhome, so their rear yards are 10 feet, and so it's 10 feet to the sidewalk, and then the lake bank starts. So how it was originally designed was quite a bit steep, so your backyard was at a 3-to-1 slope, which just isn't very safe and usable. It just creates a hazard, so the decision was made to remedy that, and by adding, so the proposed section is in the bottom, so adding the 30-inch wall allowed it to be only a difference of, I believe it's half a foot. So it's essentially a pretty flat rear yard. And then this doesn't reflect it, but there is that fence close to the wall, so that again, it prevents any hazards from kids stumbling over the wall or anything like that. Mm-hmm. The next request is the increased spacing between the driveways. So this came about because the Water Utilities Department originally approved our plans with a minimum of 2-foot driveway separation. And then later on, they came back and asked if we could do a 2.5-foot. And the reason being is because they need to install the water meters between the driveways, and they felt that was a better situation to prevent anyone from running over the water meters or anything like that. So we went ahead and make that change. It's a pretty minor change. It just reduces the driveways were only per code able to fit one car, so we're reducing them from 16 feet down to 15.5 feet, where we had that 2 feet to 2.5-foot increase. The next request, as Bradford went over, was along the very south property line. We have the cross access through to the gas station, which is it's egress only, and there was another alignment issue with the survey that we had for the adjacent property. So based on field conditions, we had to basically jog that connection to the existing drive aisle of the gas station. So it was pretty minimal. I believe it was just a few feet that we had to kind of jog the connection. So this amendment kind of makes everything consistent with what the field conditions are. The next request is dealing with the 29 trees that did not survive during construction. Again, as Bradford mentioned, mostly all of those were slash pine. So second, we have kind of what's going to be a before and after here. So the image on the left, you can kind of see the purple dots, pink purple dots. Those are where those trees were located that had to be removed. So pretty much all of them are located in where we have the recreation area over to the east of this site. None of them were located along the west property line. And then to the right, you can see the blue dots where we're proposing the trees. So basically anywhere where a tree died, we wanted to make sure, you know, that space was basically going to be empty now. So we planted 2 or 3 trees. We're going to plant 2 or 3 new pine trees in those locations. Because we had the 65, we ended up planting some additional trees where we could along the eastern buffer where we had a little more room, and we backed up to the shopping plaza. This is from the prior application, and that really concludes my presentation. Again, staff's recommending approval, and I'm here for any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it up to public comment at this point. Do we have any cards?
No, Mayor.
Do we have any hands raised?
No, Mayor.
I see a hand raised in the audience. Why don't you come on down and introduce yourself by stating your name and also your address, please.
My name's Dave Sager, and I'm at 10559 Misty Lane, Counterpoint Estates. My question is, for the lake, if you put a wall around it, what happens during a hurricane or a tropical storm event? If you get 10 to 12 inches of water, does that lake flow into the M1 canal, or does it just all get contained in the lake and flood the properties?
Okay, well, can you address that, Bradford? If not Bradford, then we'll ask the applicant.
Sure. So as far as the drainage goes, the system is going to function exactly as it was proposed. It does not, once the lake reaches a certain level, there's structures within there that the water goes through and eventually goes to the outfall, which is the canal, but it's not building up and overflowing over the walls. It gets to a certain point and then it flows into the structure, ultimately into the canal. So
Okay,
the wall
so
really has no effect
it's
on
not
the
actually a
drainage.
retaining feature of the lake area or anything like that? Okay,
No.
all right, thank you. Thank you for the question, appreciate that. Any other questions from public? Not seeing any, then I will close the floor to public comment, and I will turn to the council. Let's begin with Councilwoman Samios.
The trees that you're replacing them with, what is the maximum height when they're at full mature age?
For a slash pine, so we're planting them at 14 feet.
14 feet, correct.
The maximum height of a slash pine is probably over 100 feet.
Okay, because it is right there that those properties do look over into the parking lot, so I know that that's a concern right against the wall, just to make sure that they continue to grow. And then, and either one of you can answer this, but I know we talked about the sidewalk on the south side, because that's already there, and that'll be access on both sides. Or there is a sidewalk, I think, or a door on both sides of the road going into the gas station.
On the south, there's just a sidewalk on one side that's going to connect to the gas station sidewalk.
There isn't one there currently.
Okay, but there will be.
Correct.
Okay, and then vehicles can exit the property, they can't enter the property from that entrance, correct? Or not unless
Correct.
it's an emergency?
It's emergency or exit only.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Plenus?
No questions, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Vice Mayor?
No questions, but I do want to, actually, if you would, thank the applicant for the dedication to meeting the requirements and going beyond that to make sure that you did meet the requirements that our codes call for, especially about trees, because I'm pretty serious about a tree. That's what my name means. But thank you for doing that. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Brodusky?
No questions, Mayor.
I have a question for you. So the title of the block wall is a landscape block wall.
Yes, sir.
So what is the plan for the landscaping aspect of that, or is that just the title that was given to it?
It's just, so because it's a lower height of the wall, it's just called that because it's not technically a retaining wall that has a big foundation. Because it's so low, it doesn't need as much of a foundation because it's stacked to kind of stack backward to accept the pressure of the.
Okay.
So it's just not.
So it's not suggesting any planting of any materials along that wall on the top there?
I don't believe we're currently proposing that. That could be something that we could propose.
So one of the things about that wall is it provides a barrier between the people living in those townhouses and also the people walking along those sidewalks there, the walkway, right?
Yes.
And it would seem like it would be enhanced if there was some shrubbery of one sort or another added there. But I understand what you've already laid out, so I just put that out there. I would say also that I think our preservation code, our tree preservation ordinance is working. It may bring tears to your eyes as you do the calculations, but at the end of the day, we wind up with a pretty good canopy, and of course that's what we're striving for. So thank you for cooperating with the staff, and thanks to staff for doing a good job on this. With that said, unless there are any other questions from the council, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 2.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any opposed. Congratulations, it passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, regular agenda item number 3, public hearing for the first reading and approval of ordinance number 1067, amending Chapter 6, Buildings and Building Regulation of the Village Code of Ordinances at Section 6-147, to rename this section and update regulations applicable to lighting within the village. And I look to Mr. Hill for his presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and I'd like to specifically congratulate Ms. Samuels for rejoining us here on the dais, and look forward to more progressive work. And so what we have before us tonight is what we were lacking for several years had been any kind of guidance or guidelines put in place for residential properties. We did have some items put together for commercial properties, and we've succeeded in what we've set out to do. But it's come to our attention that sometimes with the interaction with residential properties, or even commercial to residential, that sometimes inadvertently and sometimes intentionally, light is used as a problem, or creates a problem. So what we've gone through is we bring a proposal in front of you that's going to kind of give some people some predictable guidelines of what they can expect, and try to bring some more harmony to the residential area. Basically, we are allowing fixtures to be installed up to the eave heights of buildings, but they are to be directed downward and reduce the glare and the spillover into other properties. And what that does is it prohibits the ability for anybody to put a fixture up on a mast arm. And while I'd like to believe that the intention is to light their backyard, sometimes the spillover is so strong. And so it's something that we've kind of listened to and we wanted to address. And it's been throughout the village and in different areas. Not a huge problem. It's just something that we kind of put on the back burner while we took care of some more pertinent issues. But we bring for you, something tonight that we think will enhance the quality of life for everybody here within the village.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, appreciate it. I guess the next order of business would be asking for the reading of the ordinance title.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll do it as quickly as I can. As you said, it's ordinance number 1067, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 6, Building and Building Regulations, Section 6-147, lighting requirements, to rename the section and update regulations applicable to lighting within the village, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 6, Buildings and Building Regulations, shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to open it up for public comment at this point. Are there any cards?
No, Mayor.
Are there any hands raised?
No, Mayor.
Anyone in the audience have any comments or questions to make on this agenda item? Not seeing any, I'll close the floor to public comment, and I will then open it to the council for discussion. Let's begin with Councilwoman Samios.
Good evening, Mr. Hill. Just for clarification, this is all lighting motion censored versus even hardwire, correct?
Yes,
It's
it
not
is.
just, okay, so it is an issue. It's not like, okay, these are motion sensor. It doesn't matter where they
Now,
point.
those would be a little bit more problematic in that they may come on and go off, but mainly something that is, on for quite a duration that causes a problem.
Okay. Councilman Valentes?
No, sir, no comments.
Vice Mayor?
No, sir, no questions.
Councilwoman Brodowski?
When we see ordinances like this, it's because there's been some problem in the past, right, or something. So with the adoption of this, what kind of code violation would be a resident facing if they have said lights that are in violation of the policy? What happens to them?
Well, we would follow the same course of action with any kind of coaching, or we would issue a courtesy notice and make them aware of the situation, and then have communication open with a timeline for compliance. We would point out to them the elements in the code where it may be just shrouding of the light, it might be redirecting the light, and at times it may be removing it or bringing the appliance into compliance with the degree of lumens or the color warmth of the Kelvin rating of the lighting. So it would follow the same course of action. If we ended up not being able to make it comply with these guidelines, then it would go through the course of action of our code enforcement.
Great. One more. Decorative lights, colorful lights have become customary to some residents. And so on different holidays, there's different colors. So does any of the code need to address colorful lights in any way, shape, or form?
Those we understand that it's a trend and it's desired by many residents. So this isn't any attempt to try to stop that. We do outline that holiday lights have a certain time frame that they need to come down, and that there are some restrictions as far as flashing or multicolored lights. But residential regular uplighting or accent lighting is still allowed, as long as it doesn't create glare or spillover to where it impacts beyond the property line of their own property to the degree that's outlined in this proposal.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the council? Any other comments? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I offer a motion that we approve agenda item number 3.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Not seeing any opposed. It passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Good evening.
Okay, moving on to item number 4, the appointment of one resident to Planning and Zoning Commission, as we traditionally do. I'll now turn to our council liaison for Planning and Zoning, our vice mayor, for nomination and motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint David Leland to a regular seat for a 3-year term expiring in 2029.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 5 on the regular agenda is the appointment of 5 residents to the Recreation Advisory Board. I'll turn to our council liaison, which is Councilman Valentes.
Well, there's 5. It really is a pretty straightforward thing, in my opinion. I'd like to make a motion to reappoint John Reardon, Dennis Siebert, and Sandy Rubin to regular seats, and to appoint Mike Lorimore from an alternate seat to a regular seat for 2-year terms expiring in 2028. And in addition, we still have a couple vacancies, so I would move to appoint as well Adam Miller to a regular seat for a 2-year term expiring in March 2028.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any. That's approved. Thank you unanimously. And the last item, number 6, is the appointment of 3 residents to the Education Advisory Board as council liaison To the Education Advisory Board, I make a motion to appoint or to reappoint Jennifer Sullivan to a regular seat, Tanya Small from the alternate seat to a regular seat, and Adatsi Suarez to the alternate seat with terms expiring for all of them in March of 2028. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any opposed, it passes unanimously. There not being any further business on our agenda, I just want to thank everybody for being here this evening and the staff for doing the usual great job that they do. Thank you all. Have a great evening. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, sir.